In early October 2023, Israel declared war on Hamas after a series of missile attacks and assaults on southern Israeli cities. The conflict resulted in casualties among both military personnel and civilians, and tensions have reached a boiling point. One day after the October 7th strike, the Israeli cabinet formally declared war on Hamas. The situation has since escalated, with over 1 million Palestinian people in northern Gaza being evacuated in preparation for a potential ground assault. The conflict's repercussions are not confined to the borders of Israel and Gaza. Cross-border strikes have rapidly escalated in Lebanon and Syria, further complicating an already volatile situation. As the world watches, the Israel-Palestine conflict continues to unfold with significant geopolitical and humanitarian implications. The international community is closely monitoring the developments, hoping for a resolution that brings lasting peace to the region.
Before we delve into the recent development, let's take a step back and understand the root of the Israel-Palestine conflict. Originating from a complex history involving Roman rule, Jewish immigration, and geopolitical decisions like the Balfour Declaration, this conflict has deep-seated issues. The United Nations decision in 1947 to divide the British Mandate of Palestine into two states. One is Jewish and the other one is for Arab. Marked a turning point. However, this led to armed conflict and the creation of the border that favor the fledgling Jewish state. So that's all.
Now moving on to the research objectives of this war. One of the factors included international factors such as the United Nations. Well, the purpose of United Nations is to maintain peace and security internationally, to promote the well-being of people worldwide, and for international cooperation of countries. Now, what has the United Nations done for both countries during the war? Now, the Secretary of United Nations, Antonio, had commented on the Hamas attack did not happen in a vacuum. He expressed his concerns for the civilians affected and urged related diplomatic efforts to be made to avoid an increase of violence. They had their fourth meeting of the UN Security Council with the agenda to discuss the violence that escalated on October the 7th. The conclusion was that they came to two solutions that was proposed, but both failed. The first one was proposed by Russia, which did not receive enough votes, and the other by Brazil, which was vetoed by the US. Additionally, the UN's World Health Organization has been providing medical supplies into Gaza Strip through the Rafah border. However, the aid does not include the fuel shortage, which is threatening the functioning of hospitals in Gaza. The second one is humanitarian consequences and human rights violation. Based on articles searched up, it is said that most civilians of both countries during the war faced difficult times in fleeing to safe areas, especially for the disabled, as they were not considered, and many were left behind because they struggled to be evacuated. Additionally, civilians struggle to access basic needs and humanitarian aid. Human Rights Watch has interviewed civilians from Palestine regarding the need to evacuate to safety. Many describe how they were dreading to leave their homes and other things that they care about, but they were also skeptical of leaving because they were fearful that basic needs would not be sufficient, and they were not fond of the idea of needing to stay in an overly crowded facility with other people. They furthermore added that they should have provided better internet services for the civilians.
The Israel-Palestine conflict, one of the most enduring and complex geographical issues in modern history, presents an intricate tapestry of historical, cultural, political, and religious elements. To gain a comprehensive understanding of this conflict, it is crucial to examine it through various physiological, psychological, sociological, and metaphysical lenses. Firstly, I'll be talking about the Western philosophy. Western philosophical traditions, rooted in Greek and Enlightenment thought, emphasize individual rights, the social contract, and rationalism. John Locke's theory on the natural rights and government advocate for life, liberty, and property rights, which can be applied to support self-determining for both Israelis and Palestinians. Immanuel Kant's ideas of perpetual peace suggest that federations of free states and republican systems of government implies that democratic governance and international cooperation are essential for resolving the conflict. Then we have the Eastern philosophy. In contrast, Eastern philosophy, particularly Buddhism and Confucianism, focuses on moral self-cultivation, societal harmony, and collective well-being. The Buddhist concepts of interconnectedness and karuna, compassion, advocate for mutual understanding and empathy, transcending mere political and territorial disputes. Confucianism emphasizes moral virtues and social harmonies, suggesting solutions based on mutual respect and fulfilling obligations, and aligning titles and social roles with actual behaviors and responsibilities. Then the integration of both Western and Eastern philosophies provide a more comprehensive framework. While Eastern philosophy underscores political and legal solutions based on individual rights and state sovereignty, Eastern philosophy adds layers of empathy, moral consideration, and collective well-being. This integrated approach addresses not only political solutions, but also the underlying moral and humanitarian aspects, promoting a climate of peace and mutual respect. Psychological perspective. Psychologically, the conflict can be understood in terms of identity formation, perception, and trauma. Social identity theory suggests that strong nationalistic and religious identities lead to in-group favorism and out-group hospitality. The prolonged trauma and violence have likely resulted in collective psychological impacts like increased distrust, anxiety, and proliferation of negative stereotypes influenced by concepts of intergenerational and historical trauma. Sociological perspective. Sociologically, the conflict is shaped by institutions and structures that support it. Socialization through media, cultural narratives, and educational systems significantly influences perceptions of the other. Conflict theory examines how resource distribution and power structures create social tensions. Collective memory also plays a crucial role in how groups remember their past and how this shared memory shapes identities and perceptions of conflict. Metaphysical perspective. From a metaphysical perspective standpoint, idealism and realism offers different insights. Idealism highlights the role of ideologies, religious convictions, and beliefs, suggesting that resolution may require addressing spiritual and ideological divisions. Realism, conversely, focuses on tangible realities like political power dynamics, geographic borders, and demographics, suggesting that addressing these concrete issues is crucial for conflict resolution. Now the theoretical dimensions. The theoretical aspect intertwines with both idealism and realism. The religious significance of land for Muslim, Christian, and Jews adds a layer of divine right and moral justification to the conflict, complicating purely political and pragmatic solutions. The philosophy of Sejahtera. The philosophy of Sejahtera, emphasizing balanced living and holistic well-being, offers a unique perspective. It suggests a path forward that considers psychological, social, and spiritual well-being alongside political and physical aspects. This approach fosters a more compassionate, cooperative, and lasting conflict resolution, prioritizing the interests of all parties and acknowledging the connections between their histories and lives.
So, in conclusion, the Israel-Palestine conflict remains a deeply ingrained and complex issue. Despite diplomatic efforts and attempts at resolution, the fundamental questions persist, including the status of refugees, the fate of Jewish settlements, and the sharing of Jerusalem. The recent escalation in October 2023 has once again brought global attention to this ongoing crisis, and international bodies, especially the United Nations, have made efforts to mediate and address humanitarian concerns. Yet civilians continue to suffer, struggling to access essentials and escape the danger. It's evident that a long-lasting, fair resolution is elusive, requiring sustained international attention and collaboration. So, in the interest of both nations and the broader region, prioritizing the well-being of the civilians and seeking a peaceful solution or that would be really helpful to them must remain at the forefront of all the efforts.